Through your generosity, the annual Catholic Appeal continues to serve our community.
I'm Diane Murray of Rick's Place. Rick Thorpe was a Wilbraham native who died on 9/11. In his honor, Rick's Place helps children and families suffering the loss of a loved one, all made possible through the annual Catholic Appeal.
The annual Catholic Appeal, assisting our neighbors here in Western Massachusetts. Visit diospringfield.org and make your donation today. Thank you for your support.
Coming up on this edition of Reel to Reel.
I'm Julie Bollier. I'll introduce you to some new faces here at Catholic Charities.
I'm Peggy Weber, and I'll be reading the story of some great authors here at St. Thomas School in West Springfield.
And Dan Dumas takes a look at the latest stories from the Diocese of Springfield. These stories and more are just ahead on this edition of Reel to Reel. Hello and welcome again to Reel to Reel. We're back after 2 weeks off with a brand new show and some exciting news out of the Catholic Charities office, one of the longest standing ministries in the Diocese of Springfield. For decades now, this important ministry has put our faith into action, helping the less fortunate, not just through emergency assistance, but also by providing the opportunity to better their lives. Thanks to support from the annual Catholic Appeal and some very successful grant writing, Catholic Charities has been able to grow recently, adding new services and expanding on its existing mission. Julie Bollier reports.
Saul Caban came to Catholic Charities as an intern. He never thought he would return as a client.
I did move when I was 4 years old from Puerto Rico with my family. We grew up obviously on the back streets of Holyoke, so we were a low-income family who moved. Most of my time spent here, I was a part of a single-parent household with my mom and 5 other siblings.
Saul, the second youngest of 6, was the first in his family to graduate high school and then go on to college, graduating from Westfield State University. Senior year, he did his internship in social work at Catholic Charities.
Once I was here, it was a fantastic experience. I learned so much.
After his internship and graduation, Saul returned to Catholic Charities as a client and took a free class in financial literacy.
You know, I've always been a low-income student, first generation college student, of course. So yeah, I mean, I've basically lived in poverty all my life with my family. I started thinking a lot more towards, you know, my financial situation and how important it is to save money and to establish financial goals and make sure I think especially the biggest thing was, you know, getting into the budget piece. Sure enough, I was able to save, you know, up to $5,000, and I was able to utilize some of the IDA money to put a down payment on a car. So I was able to purchase a car thanks to Catholic Charities and the financial literacy program.
Catholic Charities in the Springfield Diocese is expanding in order to better serve its clientele, some of whom are similar to Saul. There is new equipment and a growing staff. Meet the first new friendly face you will see coming into the front door, Marilyn Martinez. She is a new first floor receptionist who also does intake and sets up appointments for those who qualify for services. She is bilingual in English and Spanish. In addition, we welcome Alex Roche, the Welcome Home New Americans Project Coordinator, Mary Allen, Administrative Assistant, Galady Maria, Social Services Emergency Prevention Coordinator, and newly promoted Laura Robertson, Social Services Coordinator for Housing Counseling and Case Management.
In addition to the housing counseling portion of it, where I help clients maintain their stability, maintain their housing, I am now doing rapid rehousing, where I'm housing individuals who are literally homeless on the street or in a shelter.
Catherine Buckley Bronner, Executive Director, tells us more about the exciting new things happening at Catholic Charities.
So now we have 2 social services coordinators, but they function in 2 different fields, one in emergency and prevention services, and then the other in housing case management and housing counseling. with all of the federal grants that we have, there's a lot of requirements to manage data. And that's become a part-time position in and of itself. Our immigration services continue to flourish. We do provide all of the assistance for anyone who's looking to change their status. So whether that be an immigrant or a refugee or someone that needs to work with the USCIS, we have someone who can do that with them, and that's important. We are Bureau of Immigration accredited.
This newly painted, newly carpeted room will be a computer lab for Catholic Charity clients. Here they'll be able to conduct housing searches, job searches, English as a second language studies, and citizenship tutoring. Catholic Charities, continuing to help those in need to succeed. During this year of mercy, think about what you can do to help others, whether it be donating money, goods and services, or your time. Reporting in Springfield, this is Julie Bollier for Real to Real.
If you or someone you know could benefit from a Catholic Charities service, please stop by 65 Elliott Street in Springfield during business hours, and Marilyn Martinez will help set up an appointment for you. We also have a link for all the information you need on our website at iobserve.org. And Catholic Charities is just one of the 40 programs and agencies funded each year by the annual Catholic Appeal of the Diocese of Springfield. Joining me now is Stacy DeBern, manager of ACA, to tell us more. Hi, Stacy.
Hi, Sharon.
So we are a good way into this year's appeal, and just so folks know, it's not over yet. How is the appeal going, and what still needs to happen?
It certainly isn't over, and we're doing pretty well. We're at $2.5 million. We're just a little behind where we were at this same time last year. So we're looking for folks to get their donations in so we can make up that gap.
And isn't it true that your one gift to the annual Catholic Appeal helps people in various walks of life?
Absolutely. Your one gift can be spread across many different programs. Many times we have one pot of money that can go only so far, but when we put it into the appeal money, we can really do great work. And as an aside, I recently was speaking to a couple who was receiving some pantry items from Lorraine's Soup Kitchen, their program for people who are in need, and they were telling me that just a year ago they were donating to that program, and now they're having to be relying on that program to be able to feed their family. So the one gift really does serve a lot.
So it's not only an effective and meaningful way to give to so many important causes, but it's easy as well. How can folks donate?
Well, they can visit our website at iobserve.org and click on the Annual Catholic Appeal link. They'll be brought right to our donation page, which is a secure page, or they can call their pastor and get on our mailing list and make their donation that way.
All right, thanks so much, Stacy DeBern, and best of luck to you.
Thanks, Sharon.
And again, if you want more information about the Annual Catholic Appeal, you can call 413-452-0670, and we also have a link on our website at iobserve.org. And still to come on Real to Real. What makes St. Thomas School so great? We will hear firsthand from some young authors who have published a book about their school. These stories and more are still to come on this edition of Real to Real.
The Chalice of Salvation, your weekly spiritual connection. I'm Passionist Brother Terrence Scanlon, your Chalice host, inviting you to take time out of your busy days and join us Sunday morning at 10. We welcome Father Gary Daly, chaplain and director at the Newman Catholic Center at UMass Amherst, as our celebrant. The Chalice of Salvation, your spiritual connection, Sunday morning at 10, right here on 22 News.
Through your generosity, the Annual Catholic Appeal continues to serve our community.
Hello, we are Catholic school students from Western Massachusetts. More than 3,500 students benefit from a Catholic education. The Annual Catholic Appeal provides tuition support to many families each year. Thank you for your support of Catholic education.
the annual Catholic Appeal, assisting our neighbors here in Western Massachusetts. Visit diospringfield.org and make your donation today. Thank you for your support.
I'm Dan Dumas with your Reel-to-Reel News Brief. It was sad, but not entirely unexpected news that the closed landmark St. Francis of Assisi Church in North Adams had to be demolished after sections literally fell to the ground. Steve Kiltonick reports.
North Adams, nestled in the heart of the Berkshires, is known as the City of Steeples. But as of this past week, one of those steeples no longer graces the iconic skyline of this once bustling industrial city. On May 12th, the steeple of the former St. Francis of Assisi Church, the oldest Catholic church in North Adams, partially collapsed. Further inspection by diocesan structural engineers revealed serious deterioration of the building, which compromised the integrity of the steeple and church walls. Immediately, the North Adams building inspector deemed the building unsafe. An emergency response team was created. City officials evacuated residents at the Flatiron building and shut down several businesses in the immediate area, including Village Pizza. Eagle Street was closed to traffic and fencing was placed around the building perimeter to create a safe zone. This culminated in a series of events that ultimately led to Springfield Bishop Mitchell Rosansky's decision to demolish the entire building because of a life-threatening situation. For the past 2 weeks, workers have been perched high atop a crane, dismantling the steeple with hammers and crowbars, removing each piece of slate piece by piece. On May 20th, Bishop Rosansky met with members of the emergency response team and toured the site to inspect the damage. At a press conference held in Veterans Park across the street from the church, Bishop Rosansky thanked the emergency personnel and the diocesan team for their rapid response.
All of a sudden we have this grave issue that really is life-threatening. And so when something like this happens, it's so important to have everybody working together hand in hand so that we can address this situation, because we're looking at a life safety issue. And everybody, the police department stepped right in, the fire department, the building inspectors from the city of North Adams, our own building people from the Diocese of Springfield, all knew right away what had to be done. They did it, and they worked on it as quickly as possible.
Steve Moranti, the city's fire director, helped set up the emergency response team.
My brother was married here. My nieces were baptized here, so it has a personal. I have a personal connection to it also.
So it's kind of a sad day, huh?
It is. It is, but everybody's grouping together, and what can you do? Yeah. It's not a safe building.
Parishioners from nearby St. Elizabeth of Hungary parish, many of whom once belonged to St. Francis before it closed in 2008, have been on an emotional roller coaster ride over the past few weeks after they found out the fate of this historic church.
It really pains me to see them in such pain because of this. I don't like it. And yet there's not much we can do. So what I try to do is, if not physically, at least emotionally, put an arm around their shoulders and say, we'll get through this.
Father Sears said a number of sacramental items from the church are already repurposed in St. Elizabeth's, including 2 7-foot-high angel statues and a St. Francis statue. The cross, which once adorned the steeple, was recently donated to the city's History Museum. And the steeple bells, which were also successfully removed, would be put on display. And the stained glass St. Francis of Assisi window that once sat above the church's main entrance was previously moved to St. Elizabeth's South Tower.
Everybody, Catholic and non-Catholic, believer and non-believer, comments how beautiful it is because we light it up at night. That's the thing that makes me happy, is that it is there.
In North Adams, I'm Steve Kiltonick.
And by the middle of last week, roads near the former church were reopened. Demolition is expected to continue for a few weeks. But it's a new life for another closed facility, the former St. George Rectory in Chicopee. Carolee McGrath reports.
Bless this house, and let it be a place of healing and comfort for those in pain.
Springfield Bishop Mitchell Rosansky blessed a new healing and deliverance ministry based at St. George Church in Chicopee. Mary's House of Prayer, located in the rectory behind the church on East Main Street, is part of the healing and deliverance ministry of the Diocese of Springfield. The new ministry was blessed in a special prayer and healing service at St. George Church. Father Don LaPointe is the director.
Mary's House of Prayer is a diocesan ministry for healing and deliverance. There's actually 5 steps or 5 levels. The first level is healing masses. They will take place on the 4th Sunday of every month at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
The other levels include an Unbound program to heal people from spiritual struggles, specialized healing for people who have been victims of trauma or oppression from a demonic curse, exorcism when a person has been determined to be possessed by a demon, and spiritual direction for those seeking a closer relationship with the Lord. Father Lapointe says exorcisms are real but rare and are only conducted after a person has been through a physical, psychological, and neurological exam to rule out other factors.
What people need to know is the power of God is always stronger than the power of evil. And so it is not by my power, it is by the power of God that demons are expelled.
He says the name chosen for the ministry is very special.
And so we called it Mary's House of Prayer because she knew suffering on a level that no other human being ever knew. She walked through the whole crucifixion with him. She had to suffer through all the things he did. She understands our pain. And so when we resort and when we pray to her, we have the confidence in faith that she not only hears our prayers, but she responds to them through the help of her Son.
There are several trained intercessors assisting Father Lapointe with the free ministry, including Linda Scala.
We pray with people. It's non-confrontational deliverance, walking folks through the 5, what we call the 5 keys. And it's really about repentance and forgiveness, which brings about healing.
Scala adds the subject of demons can be terrifying for people, but she says that through the cross, Jesus triumphed over all evil.
You don't have to be afraid, absolutely not. The Bible says, be not afraid or fear not 365 times, one for each day of the year. So no, we do not have to be afraid. If we have faith in Jesus Christ, we're all good.
And she says she hopes people who are suffering will reach out and seek Christ's healing, love, and mercy. I'm Carolee McGrath reporting.
Finally, the relic of St. Charbel made its visit to Springfield recently. As Peggy Weber reports, it brought much inspiration to those who came to venerate it.
The relics of St. Charbel visited St. Anthony Maronite Catholic Church in Springfield recently. It was a moving event as hundreds attended a standing room only healing mass to conclude the 3-day visit at the church. St. Charbel, a Lebanese saint, has had many miracles attributed to him, including a recent one in Arizona. Father George Zena, pastor at St. Anthony's, says it is heartwarming to see this devotion.
He became famous not by Facebook, not by hashtag, not by Twitter. He became famous when he lived his life as a hermit.
Father George says that the visitation of the relics reminds people to see their role as light of the world and salt of the earth.
It's remind us that all of us are called to holiness and to share God's creation and share God's and continue God's work on earth.
The visit of the relic drew people of all ages. Many brought petitions to the saint, who lived from 1828 to 1898. The parish also has a permanent relic of St. Anthony on display.
But it's wonderful that we here at St. Anthony's have had 2 first-class relics come like this. And I find it very rewarding to be able to do that in my lifetime.
And although St. Charbel is not as well known as St. Anthony, it was clear that this quiet saint from Lebanon made an impact.
Remember, you can always stay informed on all the happenings in the church locally or beyond by logging on to our news and information website, iobserve.org. There you can read articles written by our Catholic communications staff, as well as view old episodes of Reel to Reel. That's iobserve.org. I'm Dan Dumas, and that's your Reel to Reel News Brief.
Well, this spring it's not just flowers that are blooming. There are also some budding new authors at St. Thomas the Apostle School in West Springfield. Peggy Weber recently went to visit and enjoyed a wonderful morning with these proud young writers, and she shares now with us their exciting book project about what makes St. Thomas School so great.
St. Thomas School in West Springfield is filled with a lot of happy faces, especially in the 3rd grade class of Mrs. Kathy Neffinger. These young people have published a book with their thoughts and illustrations about why they like their school and what makes it great. Their teacher took on this project, and the result has been fantastic.
I'm always trying to get them more interested in writing because writing comes easier for some students than others. And when I saw this, it was an email from Scholastic, and they said, oh, have your students publish their own book. And I thought, wow, what a great idea. They actually get to illustrate a page as well with their writing, so I thought they would be really interested in that.
And the students certainly were willing to take on the extra work needed for this book. They went through a writing process that involved brainstorming different ideas. The students came up with some clever answers.
We have the best teachers because they are smart and fun. One is even related to me.
We help others by fundraising for the homeless and the sick.
I love to learn math, science, and language arts with our teachers.
Sister Patty Houghton, the principal at St. Thomas, loves the book project. She said she is so proud of their work, and she too loves her school.
I love St. Thomas School, and I think the thing that I love about St. Thomas School is the opportunity, first of all, to share Catholic education with people who really want to be here. I come to school every single day with joy in my heart because I am able to work with beautiful children, extraordinary parents, unbelievably dedicated teachers. And I think that what happens here is creating a better future for tomorrow.
Writing and publishing a book is a daunting task. It takes a lot of hard work and talent. But looking around at these gifted writers here at St. Thomas School, I realized that maybe, just maybe, I am looking at my replacement.
The book is really a lot of fun to read. It is clear that the children were sincere and earnest in their work. They talk about liking the lunch ladies and the lunches. And one little boy even likes something a bit quirky.
I like it because they even let you go to the bathroom after lunch.
Others shared their reasons for thinking St. Thomas School is great.
All the teachers are very nice and they raise the bar and challenge us. We learn things about math, science, and language arts that will be handy for you in high school and college.
One student just started at St. Thomas this year and had a special reason for liking the school.
As I met my new classmates, they welcomed me nicely, especially the teacher.
The students gave a lot of different but delightful answers.
At our school, we mentor younger students. This is called the buddy system.
We are an honest school. We take turns, share, we always do the right thing. Also, we care about other people.
With words, pictures, and a lot of enthusiasm, the students at St. Thomas School are learning a lot and delivering a powerful message. For Reel to Reel, I'm Peggy Weber.
Certainly looks like there's a lot of talent in that class, and it was so much fun to watch the enthusiasm for their book. Military deployment. The words fall heavy on the families of servicemen and women heading out on assignment. As a sign of support, a parishioner at Our Lady of the Blessed Sacrament Church in Westfield organized a weekly meal for one young family. To show her gratitude, the military wife nominated her friend for a national award recognizing support for military families. As Kathy Harrington reports now, the Dinner Angels organizer is this year's Blue Star Families Neighbor Award winner.
On a Saturday evening, 2 young mothers crowded into the pew with their families for weekend mass. Now the best of friends, an act of mercy has changed their lives. Colleen Tchaikovsky was facing a long absence as her husband deployed to Afghanistan with the National Guard.
When you know your spouse is going to be gone for 6 to 8 months, it is very hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
There was a light, and it turned out to be an army of angels led by Joy Goulet.
10 or so years ago, I made meals for a coworker of mine for his wife while he was deployed to Afghanistan, and I thought that would be a wonderful idea to show Colleen and her family that we support them while Chris is away.
Organizing once-a-week meals with a note of support for Colleen, Joy rounded up volunteers at church, the Scouts, and in the neighborhood.
It was amazing that we had so many people that didn't even know me volunteer to be some of my dinner angels. Here were people who didn't know anything about me or my family, but were willing to take time out of their day and make us a meal and write us a nice card and say that they support us, and that really meant a lot to me.
So grateful, Colleen submitted Joy's name for a national award.
The Blue Star Neighbor Award is there to help promote neighbors in the community who help military families in a time of need.
One person in the whole country every year gets this award.
And this year it went to Joy, who seemed surprised that the Dinner Angels would merit national recognition. Invited to Washington, D.C. for the celebration, Joy and her husband Don were joined by Colleen and her husband Chris. The visit included taking in the sights, a live television interview, and an evening reception with food prepared by celebrity and military chefs, and a performance by Sister Sledge.
I didn't feel like I was the real hero, that all the people and all the families who have been risking their lives fighting for our country are the real heroes.
They are heroes, but tonight, from U.S. military families around the world, and from the parishioners of Our Lady of the Blessed Sacrament Church, the salute is to you, Joy. For Reel to Reel, I'm Kathy Harrington.
Joy calls on all of us to say thank you to the families of our military men and women, and says maybe you can be a dinner angel to one of them. What a great idea. And for this week, that's Reel to Reel. Before we leave you now, a shout out to Tom Pollard, a former Catholic Communications and WWLP producer reporter. Last weekend, Tom realized a lifelong goal, summiting Mount Everest. Congratulations, Tom, and you can read more on his adventure at iobserve.org, where you can also keep up to date on all of the latest news on the Catholic Church, both here in the Diocese of Springfield and around the world. That's iobserve.org. Now also you can friend us on Facebook. We are at Catholic Communications. On this Memorial Day weekend, we leave you now with a tribute to all who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Let them never be far from our thoughts.